welcome to the Kink Perspective. My name's Chris. I'm a psychotherapist and consultant. On today's show, I'm going to be doing something a little different. This isn't going to be overly specific. First, I want to kind of say hello and welcome to some new listeners from Panama to Singapore, Namibia, United Arab Emirates. I wanted to welcome you all. There's so many people starting to listen, and I don't get a chance to say thank you, because by listening and downloading and even asking me questions, I get a chance to do a couple of things. I get a chance to help my community. I get a chance to help us understand how our feelings work and the things that we experience. So first, if this is the first time you're listening to me, please like, subscribe, yada, 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 all that stuff. If you're following me on Spotify, to really help me out, I would appreciate it on the app if you could rate me 5 stars. It keeps the show going, keeps it free for now. I don't have to do anything. I can keep doing what I've been doing here for now going on a little over 2 years. Now today, I had gone to some forums and I went to some Reddits and I put up an AMA, and then I popped into a Discord server with some people, and I was really lucky that I've got a really big flood of responses from different people all over the world inside of the BDSM community, and wanted to ask questions about the scene, about psychology, some of it's how does their cultures fit inside of our lifestyle. And I really wanted to kind of today sit down and go through some of these questions. I'm probably not going to get to them all. This is definitely going to start a journey as far as I think I'm going to be doing a series here in the future of what BDSM kind of looks in different places in the world, like the Eastern Europe or potentially Russia. What about in Turkey or Istanbul, to places like Lebanon? There are kink scenes all over the world. Some of them are much smaller, but they do exist. So I think I'm going to start a kind of a worldwide journey, and I'm going to hopefully try to find some people along the way that would really like to discuss that. I want to get to something else today too, because this has kind of been pressing in the news. And there's some repercussions here for our community. Our community has been one that, for the most part, we enjoy a leisure activity. And that's what this is. I know there is a lot of debate whether this is a lifestyle or this is just a leisure activity, like a hobby. And here's the reality. Researchers have looked into it, and to be honest with you, it still doesn't go one way or another. Me, personally, I lean this is a leisure activity. I've been a part of it for 25 years. I've done hardcore relationships where, it was a little bit more intense, but still, I'm not living it 24/7. I think that if I was to give you a conservative number for the amount of people in the world and say, let's just say 25 million people in the world are involved somehow in the kink lifestyle, the reality is that we are probably talking maybe 20,000 people globally do actual 24/7. The reality of what we think this lifestyle is and how much effort and time, some of us are in school or we work, we have full-time families and other commitments. We don't really understand how much of when we say we're a part of this, and the difference to be 24/7. So when I approach and look at BDSM, as I always have in these last 25, 26 years, I look at this as a really enjoyable leisure activity. I get together and share experiences with other people, and then I go home. But there's a lot of unrest from where I'm originally from. I'm originally from the United States. I served in the military there. I worked in law enforcement. I've done a lot of things for my community and my country. But as shifting dynamics are changing, and obviously politics are extremely polarized, and sexuality and identity, and there are reasons I haven't really kind of jumped into that debate, because it's not really, I don't know where I want to land and how I feel about things, so I'm kind of just left to, the same approach that I have kink. You do you, I do me, and then that's it. We don't have to worry about other things. But something I want to address before I want to jump into these questions was there was Obviously, a lot of civil unrest going on right now because of what's going on in the Middle East. But there was something at UCLA or USC. These are major campuses in the West, in the Los Angeles area. They're very prestigious schools, or at least they used to be. And I don't recall which school it was. I'm going to say, I believe it was USC. They have a student paper there that's or published or edited or, at least paid for by the university. And recently they had this thing about coming out and, about defending furries and defending leather people and defending the kink community for students and other aspects of sexuality like the, gay and lesbian community. Now, first, I want to be very clear about this. Your sexuality and then what you do in your leisure time they're not together. Just because you want to put those two identities together, that's not always how these things work. Now, I know this is probably going to get some very strong emotional backlash from some people, and to be honest with you, this is how I approach therapy. I'm very direct, and this is why and how I help my clients. But you don't always have to put yourself in a box, because the more you try to check boxes off, it's not a competition. Oh, I have all these problems, or I'm a part of all these clubs, and you're not a part as many as I am. Well, that's great. Then you are completely isolated and no one wants to play with you. You're all alone. I can tell you right now, when somebody comes up to me and they start giving me a list of all this crap that they're a part of, and honestly, a lot of it is crap. It is. You are so isolating yourself from other people. It's often a wonder why people like this feel so alone. Now, let me stray back to this thing with the USC. So coming out in the defense of how does this affect our community and why do I feel so strong about this? First off, the whole furry movement, you're right. I may not understand it. You want to dress up as an animal, you want to play pretend, because let's be realistic. There's no such thing as a trans species. I'm sorry, that just doesn't exist. It's not going to exist. What you're doing is make-believe. You want to dress up like a horse or a dog or a cat, that's fine. A lot of times that's reserved for most of us at Halloween. But if you want to do that and pretend, that's fine. But the levels of where it's getting to in universities and high schools where these individuals, and they are people attacking other people because they want to play and screw around like an animal, it's wrong. These are our activities for private time. It is not something you do 24/7. If it is, you're having an issue. You're having probably a compulsion or a delusional issue that needs to be treated or seen by a professional. And when students are coming out and they're pushing this on to high schoolers or younger children, and then they get into this whole article got into the kinky community that students should be able to walk around and have collars and leashes on. No, I'm sorry. We don't go to universities to see this. We are not there. Universities are a place for higher learning. A lot of these universities and a lot of students pay a lot of money. It's not a sideshow. It's not a freak show. I'm not paying to go to the circus. I'm paying to go to learn. I've spent tens of thousands of dollars going to school. The last thing I want, don't get me wrong, it's always nice to have a little, if it's a sports team on, if they have sports there, go watch a game, be a part of the community spirit, participate in some maybe student organizations. That's wonderful, even fine, as far as even protesting goes, whatever catches your fancy. But bringing things that we like in our bedroom is kind of odd to me, because these are personal. We're removing the personal nature here of what we do in our own privacy that we find enjoyable by sharing it with the world. It's no longer special what you do if you're sharing it with everybody, because then there's nothing unique about you. And that's just it's a big reality. Maybe I'm getting older, I've just turned 50, so maybe I'm getting cynical. But I feel like we have to start seeing this. We're not grounded in reality. Our community has never, ever we didn't want to come out to people because we already enjoy a lifestyle that's alternative enough to what what society, as far as the normal essence of sexuality is. Our behavior was considered deviant. It wasn't even that long ago where our behavior was declassified as a mental health issue in the grand scheme of things. But still, at the end of the day, these students that are at this university and they put on their parade and they're doing pretend spankings in public and collars and doing some other things, then they're forgetting about the main tenement about this lifestyle in the first place, and that's consent. No one consents to see that garbage. And that's what it is, what they're doing. They're not lifestyle people. And I'm sorry, they're not. And it's not about gatekeeping. This is just a ridiculous nature of it. To me, it's like a child throwing a tantrum. I can't do this. So because you're telling me I can't do this, I'm going to kick and scream on the floor and and garner for attention. It's attention-seeking behavior. These universities really need to start clamping down on some of this. And let's get back to maybe the fundamentals of why we're in school in the first place. And that's furthering our education, building creativity and originality so we can design better things or build better things. Not, I want to dress like a gopher and, walk over to a tree and hump it. Then you know what? Don't go to school, because no one's paying to see that. And you're thrusting that behavior on somebody else. And I don't condone it with my clients. I don't condone unhealthy behaviors being done in public. And this, in the grander scheme too, we're seeing a lot more public play starting to happen within the community again. It's always been there, and people claim it's the exhibitionist. But again, a lot of this stuff is even getting criminal. And I don't associate with those types of people, and I don't consider them part of my community, because if you're doing anything that's going to end up bringing a bad light on our community, on the things that we enjoy, the reason we go to clubs and hang out with like-minded people to share those experiences, if you're going to bring any negative light to that, then I don't want you to be a part of it. And yeah, maybe that does make me exclusionary, and that's fine. I'm comfortable with that. I've done stupid things when I was younger, and I got told don't do that, and I stopped doing it. But now we're at a point that, everybody's entitled to do things, and we're not really thinking before we do. And I don't know, my view is otherwise. But this is why when I say things that we actually need to hear. I say it on my show, I say it in my writings, and I definitely say it to my clients. I don't coddle behavior, and I am not an echo chamber. I'm the wrong person for that. I don't sit here and justify stupidity. I can explain why certain things happen, at least in my opinion, why those things happen. But I don't agree with this type of behavior. I think it's demonstrative and terrible and taken out of context. Obviously, the people weren't even, from the things that I saw and the actions I saw, the people didn't even know what they were doing. And to me, they would be completely unsafe. They would be what we would consider red flags in the community. If anything, they were major consent violations. But I've digressed a little bit from today and where I'm at. So first, again, I want to thank everybody who kind of popped into the Discord and sent me some stuff on Reddit. So I want to get to some of these questions. I have compiled a list of about 50 questions from people that listened to the show or that came in and talked to me. And I'm going to kind of just handpick a few that I think are quite interesting, that might resonate with some of the people. And hopefully if you're listening, you're going to hear the episode, you'll hear your name, and it'll provide some answers for you. And if I don't really have an answer, or I can't get to your question, I'm sorry, I apologize. My knowledge is limited too. 25 years doesn't mean I still know everything, or, I don't have that. I don't have decades upon decades of experience in psychology either. So we're going to start with this question first. It kind of hits close to home for me. It's a question from the States, from Sarah from California. And Sarah asked me, I'm a therapist myself, but I'm also a submissive in the BDSM community. How do I manage boundaries between my professional and personal life? Sarah, that's a really good question. I am a sadist. I'm in a dynamic outside of my professional, but I will tell you probably the thing that at least I try to hold bare while I do things. My profile, I keep it 100% professional. I do have private profiles on different social media sites, but they have no connection, no photos, no nothing to what I do in my professional world. You can learn first boundaries you have to set are between yourself. Are you putting yourself out there on social media to meet people, or are you putting them out there to meet people in a professional capacity? I think it's would detract if you're trying to work with a client and might have maybe revealing or very erotic or even nude imagery on your profile of yourself. It's not empowering. It's a distraction, and to me, it breaks the therapeutic bond. I don't believe in those things. I don't think we as therapists should be sharing that type of stuff with clients. As far as your personal life, well, it's personal. That's what it is. That's your time. Focus on it. Remember that we all need time off. So when you're out of work, you're out of work. It would be any different if you were a doctor or electrician or a plumber or anything else. Enjoy your scene. Allow yourself to be a part of it. But just set your boundaries and your walls as far as you're willing to go at the pace you're willing to go from. So I kind of hope that answers that question for you. I know that I had trouble navigating it for a while, but I made a definite decision on what I wanted to do and kind of go from where I wanted to keep my kind of social media presence, I guess. So anyway, let me move on here. I have a question that came in from a listener from Toronto. Alex asked me in Reddit, living in a country that prides itself on diversity, how does Canada's multiculturalism influence the BDSM scene? Alex, that is a huge question that I probably can't answer. I would, if I'm going to give you some kind of a generic response, I think if anything, that's going to probably give you a more broad context and allow a lot of different people to have a lot of different views and opinions inside of the scene itself. I mean, that's a lot of different people to meet and experience different backgrounds and histories and ways that they were brought up and what appeals to them and what doesn't, maybe even why, right? But yeah, that's a little bit bigger than I'm kind of maybe qualified to answer. I'm not from Canada, but hopefully that'll work for you. I'm going to draw one from Germany here. Lena from Berlin. Given Germany's openness about sexuality, how does this impact the acceptance of BDSM? I actually have some clients in Germany, and they are very vested into the scene. And from what I understand, Germany's scene in places like Munich or Frankfurt tend to be far more accepting, a lot more, I guess you could say, switching. The rules are a little bit more open and diverse. They're a lot more fluid as far as, gender roles. It's definitely more about the exploration. I do see a little bit more of hedonism inside of Germany's scene. And this, I mean, not unlike anything else, this can, if we kind of take it at a pace and go from there, this can affect our personal lives or, the people we date. It can make them better and it can enhance those relationships, or, it can also lead to a lot of exhaustion. So, yeah, that's a really good question. Let's see here. From Greece. How does Greece's rich mythology influence BDS dynamics and roleplay? I would have no clue. Nikos? It's an interesting question, and more so, I mean, if you're in the community there, and I know I've seen quite a bit from Greece. I'm gonna Role play is like anything else inside of the lifestyle. I mean, I'll go kind of generic. Like I did with the question from Canada. Role play, like anything else, we are slipping into a role. So I could see people playing, maybe using Greek mythology to take on some role playing. Zeus and a slave girl, or Aphrodite. I don't want to get all my things wrong, or Athena, right? Um, Gladiators. There could be so much in the dynamics of role play. I think there could probably be a lot to explore there, especially given the context of where you live. Um, so yeah, that's role play is not something I really haven't talked about a lot, but it is. I think you would have a lot more context to do things and explore different avenues based on your country's history to explore there. So I hope that answers that question. From Spain. With Spain's vibrant culture, are there regional variations in BDSM practices? Well, I've been to Spain. I've been to Madrid and Barcelona, Valencia, Barcelona. Sorry, I will add in the proper pronunciation. Barcelona. I've been to Barcelona, Madrid, Valencia, Toledo, Seville. Um, the scene's actually quite open and inviting. I think nothing against Madrid, but those in Catalan, Barcelona seem to have a really strong pace. They're very upbeat and a little bit more open with their um, acceptance and cultural expectations of how they want their sexuality to practice. I read a really good um, write up a few weeks ago from somebody from Spain talking about their friends and the acceptance of the community and how resilient they are, and um, how do those things, how do they navigate all of those things. And it's kind of like, well, look, we're in it, we do it. um, and people partake or they don't, and there's not really a whole lot of judgment there. I definitely didn't see any difference between the cities or the people I've spoken to, but I would definitely say that there were. I mean, maybe it could have been the time of the year I went, or the people I was with, but I did notice that, yeah, those in Barcelona kind of wins that out a little bit. Maybe it's because it's closer to Ibiza, party central. Who knows? But I think that there, it's a lot of young people there, just like in Madrid. But I think Madrid's more driven by, the younger people there are trying to build their careers. So I think with Barcelona, and they're, centralized towards the beach and the Mediterranean, they want to really explore. They're really kind of doing the whole carpe diem thing. So, um, this is an interesting question. Tomas from Nambia. Wow. Well, welcome. Thank you for listening. As a Nambian, how do I connect with others interested in BDSM in a country with a smaller population? That's a really interesting and good question, Tomas. First, thank you for listening. I don't know what your country. I don't know a lot about Nambia. Um, I don't know how religious influences and expectations there go as far as sexuality and sexual practices and things of our leisure activity. But what can you do to connect with people? You can always start your own munch. You can use places like Reddit. You can use places like FetLife or Fetish.com. Um, Possibly Twitter. Don't know. And you can use those things to create munches or look for people, even if it's just two or three of you getting together. Remember, getting together and meeting and connecting with others to build a community. It just starts with a couple of people. And when you're sitting and talking about, I've been drawn to this, maybe you read, Screw the Roses, Give Me the Thorns, or anything else, whatever drew you in, and you're hooked by the lifestyle, how do you, who do I talk to? Well, put a call out to your community and start. If maybe nobody in your community and any of the social media places you go to has been active for a long time, well, everything's got to start from somewhere. So make an event, put it out in whatever social media circles you have. You could use, if you want to keep it a little bit more secret, but those who are on the know, you could always just get the BDSM symbol and put that up on your post and somewhere kind of innocuous. It does look like a yin and a yang, but it's black and gray, and that can kind of let people know, well, hey, this is a BDSM thing, right? And that way maybe you can avoid some people kind of staring at you with side eyes, perhaps, or it's really, I know it takes a lot of time and effort to start something when there is nothing. But depending on where you live in the country and how small it is, I mean, you might even have to travel. So be open, and be willing. And here's the bigger one is be patient, right? You got to be a little bit patient. And, go from there. I hope that answered your question. By the way, I'm really kind of sorry. I don't know what else to really offer to you. I know that how that may kind of connect for you. All right, so now I've got a question out from the Middle East here in the United Arab Emirates. A question from Dubai. In a conservative society like the UAE and with a predominant Muslim culture, how do people explore BDSM while respecting cultural norms? Well, I don't know. I have been slowly reading a lot about, or reading more recently about BDSM in the UAE or in the Kingdom in Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Lebanon. Surprisingly, in Lebanon, they have a pretty big underground BDSM scene. I know a lot of these places, if we can remove any of the political ideologues right now from this, if we can just talk about the scene itself, these are places obviously heavily influenced by the Muslim faith. So you're going to have to take that really, I'm going to guess, potentially slow, because I'm not completely fluid with, what sect you may belong to, if that's even where you are at. I don't know if you are or you're not. But the reality would be that deviant behavior, they might consider this deviant behavior. And I do know there's, in a place like the UAE, for example, there are morality police. So you have to kind of watch these things. I would think doing them in private with someone there is explicit trust, faith, and consent to do these things with, and whatever exploration you're going to do is very slow, and nothing that's going to be kind of over the top, I suppose, or it's going to draw too much attention to you in a negative light. So I kind of hope that sheds a little bit of light for you. I'm going to kind of jump across to the Pacific Ocean over here, and I got a question from Wei in Hong Kong. Sorry, I don't know what's going on with me lately, speaking English. Wei asked me, in a city known for its fast-paced lifestyle, how do people find a balance between BDSM and career commitments? Well, I've been to Hong Kong. I know it's busy. It's very financial. It's very on the go. It's very status. And what can we do? How do we find a balance? Well, that's a good question. I mean, that's like all of us finding a balance. I work 5 days a week. Sometimes I work 6. I don't always want to do things on the weekends. Sometimes I just want to relax or want to go away. But I mean, if we're pursuing dynamics, it's like any other relationship first way. We have to put so much effort into it and find that pace that we can maintain with a good level. I would think would be first. And then number two would be, setting up all of our parameters just like we do when we're going to go on a date. Hey, do you want to let's assume, I'm going to make the assumption you've been getting to know somebody for a couple of weeks or maybe a couple of months. You're kind of building up a rapport. You haven't necessarily played yet. And then you're scheduling a playtime, unless you work 7 days a week. But downtime and anything else is really important. We need a work-life balance. I do know people that are extreme, that prefer to work 6, 7 days a week and they love their jobs, but that's it. Their entire life is built around their career. If you are more than your career, if you're trying to find cancer, keep working, please keep working. You're doing awesome research. However, if you just you work a tough job 5 days a week and you're talking about finding some private time on the weekends, well, make the time. It's about physically scheduling it in. Even if you have to get yourself a calendar, physically make some time and write these things down and say, you know what, this upcoming weekend, I'm going to go, I'm going to go meet up with my dom, or I'm going to meet up with my sub, whatever the case may be. We're going to go have our, third date, or we're going to talk about our first place scene, or we're going to even do our first place scene. But make the time. I make the time to make sure that I'm taking care of myself. I work a lot and I work with people on really difficult subjects, and I need my own downtime. So regardless if that's watching TV or watching a movie or playing a game or walking the dog, whatever it's going to do, make some time. And when you're talking more specifically about the lifestyle, then just schedule it, right? Get Google Calendar in there and schedule it. There's nothing wrong with scheduling our time. It doesn't make you retentive. It doesn't make you, OCD. It just makes you organized. So here's a question from Oslo. Ingrid asks, as a Norwegian, how can I find a therapist who is knowledgeable and accepting of BDSM? That's an interesting question because this just came up. I have some new European clients that are coming to me that I work with people on four different continents, or 3 different continents right now. I'm working with people in over 20 different countries. In the U.S. alone, a lot of different states, probably 15 or so different states. So the rise of telehealth has really helped. But some things that I heard from some of the clients I've started working with out of Europe was they've struggled to find therapists that are kink knowledgeable, or I prefer kink friendly. I kind of look at it as 2 levels. There's kink aware. So most of us know when we go to school, there's alternative forms of sexuality and sexual exploration and eroticism. However, they're going to have a very limited knowledge. Or then there's kink friendly, those of us who actually actively participate in the lifestyle, or have for some part of time. I know there was another place that's, even says kink. Now I think they do it kink friendly, which is kind of reverse of the kink aware. Then there's kink aware, kink friendly, and then kink knowledgeable is like their highest rating. I think that's on the Kink Aware Professionals website. I'll get to that in a second. But like I said, find someone that sorry, my phone went off. Find someone that you're going to be comfortable with. Sit down and ask them some questions. You can ask them very generic questions. Do you know anything about this lifestyle? Do you have any experience with it? You want to be comfortable with someone. I'm very happy to work with people all over the world, which is why I do what I do. I know there are some other therapists on a place like FetLife. If some people are looking more for same gender type therapists, there are some female therapists on FetLife. If that's not adequate enough for you, there is a website through the National Coalition of Sexual Freedom, NCSF. They have the Kink Aware Professionals kind of page, and through there you can see different therapists from all over the world. There's quite a few in the U.S., And then there are, people like me who are around different places in the world because I'm no longer in the States. Um, I typically don't talk about all that stuff, but yeah, and then read through their profiles, but be really, really direct, and then find somebody who's comfortable that you think you can share that you can share those innermost, deepest things, those fantasies or those questions you have or those things that you were exploring. Sorry, I had to do an edit there for a moment because I was choking and that was a terrible thing, and I kind of edited it out. So, but yeah, really, Ingrid, you can take a look and kind of reach out to anyone, um, and ask them. You're not limited to working with people in your country. We're in the technology age, and if you're comfortable with telehealth, which obviously gained a lot of prominence during COVID, there are a lot of us out there, myself, and I can think of a few others that are absolutely 100%, and then just ask them. If they say they're kink friendly, at least ask them to explain what that means. I'm very happy to tell my clients, I've been doing it for 25 years. I joke about it sometimes. But it's a powerful tool to understand, because then we know that when a client is facing something that's in part of their dynamic, that they know that we're knowledgeable enough to understand that, that they're struggling when they're DS, or they're not completing their tasks, or they're failing to macro manage somebody's life. That's just a couple of examples. I understand what all of that means. So kind of hope that helps. But yeah, don't limit yourself. If you don't have enough where you live, well, then look elsewhere. Find what you need and find the best fit for you. I'm going to do one or two more questions, and then I'm going to kind of wrap this up today. Sorry, I wanted to get to everybody, and this has been really wonderful. It's a very big deviation from what I normally do, but I think kind of answering some of these questions gives people a little bit of insight. And I'm kind of picking this question for a few reasons. Part of it is because of my heritage, and part of it is because it's something I tend to stay away from, and it's not something I'm involved in, but I know it affects quite a few people's lives. So I'm getting a question from Italy, and I'm not going to say where in Italy, and I'm not going to say from who. I'll just say they just asked me to use their initial. G asked me, with Italy's, or more so a lot of globally, the people who have a strong Catholic heritage, how do religious beliefs intersect with BDSM practices? Well, that's a big question. I am Catholic, so I understand this. I'm a non-practicing Catholic. I'm not going to go on the existential reasons for why. Most BDSM scenes, I think I struggled with when I first went into a dungeon and they had their quote-unquote altar. I have not been to one that doesn't have one. Everything I know about altars stems with most churches, but for me, it always stems with the Catholic Church. So I've always kind of struggled with that part of the lifestyle, as much as I struggle with people dressing as nuns, or with their habits on, or priests. I can't do religious play or religious role play. I don't like religious practices. I even sometimes struggle with the St. Andrew's cross. There's too much religious connotation in it for me. One is about, I think, to me, there's a separation between spirituality and a devotion to our leisure time. Because my spirituality has changed over the years, maybe my beliefs, they haven't really moved, but I still hold fast into the things I think, or the things I see, and the things I won't partake in. I, again, do nothing with religious play, no aspect of it whatsoever. I don't condone anybody else for doing it. I'm not going to go into the psychology of other religious aspects, and how that might affect people. But I think, I did write a paper once a long time ago about spirituality and BDSM, and I think a lot of our practices, not unlike the Catholic Church, are very ritualistic. And there is a strong tie, the deeper you are in, maybe in high protocol, where a lot of these things can be looked at as a religious practice. because we couldn't say that, if I've got to walk in and bow and make a formal greeting and then the submissives don't talk or the slaves don't talk, whatever the case may be, we're following an edict that's kind of set forth. So I think there are some overtones kind of, but teach their own. I think you got to find the balance of what you are willing to do spiritually and then what you're willing to ask for forgiveness on a Sunday might be. And I'm not trying to be, funny about it or deflect. It's a big question. So, sorry, I got a very dry throat today. But I do think that spirituality for us in BDSM, if you even think about the connotations of when a submissive floats, right? And they're in their subspace. There was a lot of people that akin that to a religious experience. So, it's out of body. So that's really it's really, I guess, a delicate subject that each person's got to kind of navigate for their own. So, I have time for one last question, and I want to get to this one. I kind of selected this one because I think it's important. And it deals, pardon me, sorry guys, I'm struggling today. I don't know what the heck's going on with me. I selected this one because it does hit hard, I think, at the heart for a lot of people. And I think there's going to be a lot of people this question may or may not, this may or may not, resonate with. Sorry, I'm just thinking of the word. So Eva reached out from, where are you from, Eva? I'm sorry, the Netherlands. I'm very close to my family, and I've always introduced them to my boyfriends or my significant other partners. How do I approach them about now being in a lifestyle where I push the envelopes? Okay, I'm going to assume... Oh, so there's some follow-up here. Please don't read. Okay, so... Pardon me. Sorry, guys. I really apologize. I can understand loving a new partner. And, if you are, I guess, coming out as... First off, I struggled to... I got into a debate, I don't know, 6 or 9 months ago with some Icelanders. Nothing against Iceland. I think it's a beautiful country, and I definitely want to go and visit it. I have yet to go. After the movie Eurovision, I really want to go now. So, sorry, I'm kind of a movie geek, and I really want to go to Husavik. However, I know that in a country, for example, like Iceland, they've made BDSM an identity. I don't agree with that. I don't think it's not a sexual identity. It's not. I struggle to see the connection there. And so coming out and trying to say, I'm a BDSMer, you could just say, I'm involved in this community and I explore these things with this wonderful human being, this wonderful boyfriend or girlfriend that you have, and this person makes me happy and they make me feel safe, and I've explored things that I've never explored with them before. And if you love me, all you want from me is to be happy, and I want to tell you right now, I'm happier than I ever have been. And you're just being yourself, right? You don't have to put it into a context and give them a lot of details. You don't have to tell them that you want to be tied up and, you like to be beat or whatever the case, whatever you're doing privately. You don't have to explain these things. Hopefully, it can be scary talking to people about this, The world's a little bit more accepting now. I think some ways we've gone backwards, but I think the world's a little bit more accepting. And I don't know, you didn't mention it, both your parents or who in your family you want to take, but hopefully they're going to be understanding and acceptive. I probably, because it is your private life, I probably wouldn't go into too much detail, right? More generic, more broad, the better. And that way you can 100%, give them... Operational security, we would talk about in the military. Give them just enough information that's all they need. Don't tell them more than they need to know. You're happy, you're safe, and it's all consensual, and you're in love if that's the case. And you just want them to know that's, because you want them to know how happy you are, and that's what you're a part of, and then that's it. They don't need to know more. You don't. I wouldn't expand on it. I mean, every culture is going to be different. Maybe if your family is very open and you all share quite a bit about your private lives and your personal sexuality and erotic explorations, okay, then maybe. But otherwise, I really, I can't recall the last time I sat around and talked with my dad about the women I slept with, or what it's or sat with my mom and had a conversation about sex with a girlfriend. I've never done that. So I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm just saying that I navigate those questions or those in a more broad or very broad ship or very wide turn when I ask or explain these things, because I want to preserve might make them blush as well. That tends to happen. But that is all the time I have, really. I can devote to this today. I can't really get into more questions. I can't, and I wish I had more. And I didn't even mean to make the episode this long today. So, for those who are listening and going, "God, he's still rambling," I'm sorry. Couple quick things. The book is done. Has been accepted. It's going to be in print version for those who wanted to get it. Reminder is now out. I believe it'll be out May 1st. So depending on where you're at in the world, that's about the next 36 hours for everybody on the planet. My book, Tangled Desires, the intersection between BDSM and psychology, will be out in its print version. You can get that. You can order it at places like Amazon. I do have a new podcast coming. It's going to be launching. I'm hoping to launch it this month. I think next week I will give everybody the name, but I've told you before, it's going to cover true crime stuff. It's really awesome, and I've been working on it for a while. If you are interested in helping me out, I could use some more volunteers. There is somebody I got to get back to you, but again, coordination and time. But if you're interested in helping me out, you like to do research, I'm always looking for some help and team members. Greatly appreciate it. Reach out to me at The Kink Perspective. It's the name of the show, but all together at gmail.com. If you are looking for a lifestyle therapist, if you're looking for a trauma therapist or somebody, just kind of curious what I do, and to see if I may be the right fit for you, look in the description below. I'm going to put a link to my practice there, www.enhanced-mind.com. You can find out more information about me there, and if you have questions about your life or something that you're facing, maybe within the community or just something else, please feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to at least have a conversation first, find out if I'm the right fit for you, and I can even help you out. But I hope you guys enjoyed today. It was a little bit different, something that I haven't ever done before, and I kind of enjoyed doing the whole, getting different questions from around the world. And again, I want to thank to everybody who really does listen to my show all over the planet. That's very humbling for me. When I started this show a couple of years ago, I had no idea where it was going to go. And it's been a crazy journey. So thank you. And I hope I answered some of your questions. Please also, if you want to ask me a question and I didn't get to it today, you really need to know, send me an email and I'll see if I can get to it, and I'll answer, hopefully maybe to you privately. Until next time, everybody, be safe, stay tuned.